And now for the Q&A.
How about a question from Luke?
Hi, Luke.
Luke says, so my wife has been struggling with her weight now for about 2 years after she had her hysterectomy. And I was just wondering if you have any knowledge on what to do. She's really good at being at a calorie deficit. She's starting to be more disciplined in her workout habits. I just want the best for her. And I've listened to a lot of your shows, but I can't seem to remember if this topic ever came up. I want to know if there's something else that I'm missing. Thank you. Love your show.
Thanks, Luke. Yeah, chick stuff, man. I try to have gals on here who can speak to chick stuff because I'm surrounded by gals, and quite often I don't understand how those systems work. I want to be as empathetic as possible and understand as deeply as I possibly can, but I find it difficult to know things that I can't relate to at all. Like, it's hard for me to retain that. I don't think we've ever talked to somebody who spoke specifically about her hysterectomy. And I imagine there's some hormonal stuff that happens with that too. Again, I don't know for sure. But I imagine there is something that could be addressed maybe, and maybe her doc should talk to her doctor about that. But again, I don't know. At the end of the day, calorie deficit should produce weight loss. It's getting into that and staying in it, and adherence. Hormones can really wreak havoc on being able to do that. And also we could be our perceived effort can often not honestly reflect what we're doing sometimes too, which is a terrible thing to say and to hear and to think about, because we can perceive that we're putting all this effort and doing everything perfectly and it's not working, and it's like, all right, no, but my perception is off. My perception is not always telling me exactly what's happening objectively. And so I have to be aware of that sometimes. And hormones can really mess you up with that. And so I'm so sorry. I don't know with the hysterectomy, what to say.
I will say that we
you're
have
a chick.
had.
You talk about.
I'm a chick. Well, I don't have the answer, but we have had, and I'll email these to you, Luke. I'll just let you know which episodes they were, but we have had a few experts on, right, in women's hormones, Dr. Taz and so on. So not that they specifically speak about that, because that, exactly, but that might be like a good lane to sort of start looking down for resources.
Yeah.
I've got a question for you from Jen.
Hi, Jen.
She says, hi, Ethan and team. Love the podcast. I appreciate your vulnerability and being open to share your experiences. I have a question for you around traveling. We are currently planning a surprise trip for our kids to Disney World in February, and I am super excited about the trip, but also a little stressed when it comes to food choices and options available in the parks. I know I'll be walking a lot, but interested in hearing any tips and tricks you may have to share.
Yeah. So for me, at those things, and I think the options have gotten a lot better. Like, I remember being a kid and it being mostly junk food, but this also could just be like what I was interested as a kid. But I remember even the last time I was at Disneyland, which it's been a while, seeing like you could get a turkey leg, you could get a pickle, there was even like fresh fruits and vegetables at Disneyland the last time I was there, at little stands, not just at restaurants. So there are options. You can also take your own food and get a cooler, and there are lockers. I don't know that they'd let you carry your own food around in the park. Maybe they would. Maybe you could say you're on a very specific diet for some medical condition and that maybe they'd let you in. But I remember one time actually packing food in a cooler, putting it in a locker, and going out and eating twice. you can be successful. And then you can also cut yourself some slack because you're certainly going to be walking more at Disneyland than I would assume your normal life is, because how many of us just walk around all day? It is a lot of walking. And so maybe you'll eat a little bit more, but like I would, if it was me, I would try to make decisions where I was getting the least processed food possible, not eating fried stuff, trying to eat stuff that wasn't packed with sugar or fat. That would be my trying to get as much protein as possible, and unprocessed carbs in the form of like whole grains or fruits and veggies, and not eating stuff like fondue. I don't know, do they have fondue at Disneyland? Probably. There's like a whole alpine village, isn't there? That would be the way I would do it.
Yeah. Great. Well, thank you for that. And thanks for your question, Jen. Have a great trip and let us know how you did. Today's question comes from Carlos.
Hi, Carlos.
Carlos says, what do you think about, the subject line is sugar elimination diet. And then Carlos says, what do you think of me doing this to kickstart my journey? And that's it on the question.
Look, there's so many factors here that I don't know, but I would say like if you're looking for a step one, that's a perfectly fine step one. And like I'm all for a Kickstarter. Cutting out sugar could be a great way to lower your calories. I think that doesn't get you all the way there. So really keep in mind that this is step one, and that step two doesn't have to be. And, maybe some, like we get into, in my head, he said sugar. Does he mean carbohydrates? Are we talking about refined sugar? Are we talking about high fructose corn syrup? Like what does sugar even mean today? Because what actually has sugar in it anymore in America? I don't know. Like we even have to get our Coca-Cola from Mexico if we want to have real sugar in it, right? So like what does eliminating sugar mean? Does it mean just eliminating sweet things? All that's perfectly fine. I would say you don't have to be scared of carbohydrates, right? Rice, potatoes, beets, carrots, grains. These are great fuels for the body, which your body still needs fuel. You want some fuel in it. You don't want to become so burdened by dieting that you're exhausted all the time. So yeah, if you are over consuming sweet things, then taking a break from them, perfectly fine. Wonderful step one. There are a lot of steps, and step one doesn't get you all the way there.
Yep, got it. Okay. I will just share that I had actual sugar last night after not eating it for quite a while and woke up with the puffiest, weirdest, crazy eyes. The only reason I say this is because this really doesn't have to do with the question, but I just want to say there's also this thing of like, you can tell when your body didn't like something, or you can tell when you have a reaction, I
feel like shit if I eat sugar at night. I do.
Yeah.
I wake up feeling crappy. If I eat sugar in the gym while I'm working out, I feel awesome. If I eat sugar before my workout, I feel awesome. If I eat sugar and then go to sleep, I feel like garbage. That's just me. I have that too. Yeah. I don't demonize sugar because of this. I think of what its use is to my body. And if I'm doing something that requires a lot of movement with my body, sugar can be super beneficial. I used to ride bikes. I would take gel packs that were basically, and they were so sweet. It was like just a little thing of flavored syrup basically on the ride, and I would squeeze it into my mouth, and suddenly I'd have more energy and I'd be able to go faster and further. So like, a lot of the times I am thinking about what the usefulness of what I'm eating is. Desserts, I tend to not eat because dessert in my life, the way my life is structured, almost always are only served with dinner. And when I have them, I feel like crap the next day. That's been my experience. So I don't do that. And I tend to not eat a lot of sugar. Pretty much the sugar that I have will be before or during a workout. And we're talking
Yeah.
about actual sugar, not carbohydrates. I could eat a bowl of rice with dinner and I feel fine the next day.
Here's one from Dustin.
Hi, Dustin.
Dustin says, I started a healthy living journey 13 months ago. I was 40 years old and hitting the scale at 460 pounds. I am down to 314 as of today.
Wow, that's fucking awesome. He lost 150 pounds. That's incredible, dude.
He says, I was put on Ozempic and that helped with food cravings. Drinking 1 cup of coffee and then nothing but water all day, no fast food, junk food, and going to the gym 5 days a week. I spend an hour on the treadmill and 20 to 30 minutes on weight machines. My question is using the weight machines to help prevent lean muscle mass loss? Would it be better to use machines that hit a range of larger muscles, horizontal chest press, lat pull downs, shoulder press, pec fly versus smaller single muscle groups, bicep curls, hamstring curl, looking to maximize my time at the gym for best results?
Yeah, totally. Great question. I think 100% the larger the muscle groups, if you're trying to maximize or you're trying to mitigate as much lean tissue loss as possible, then yes, hitting the largest muscle groups will do that better than the smaller muscle groups, because most of the smaller muscle groups are also ancillary to the larger muscle groups, meaning there's nothing you can do with a large muscle group where smaller muscle groups aren't being employed. But you can focus on the smaller muscle groups and remove the larger muscle groups. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So if you've only got a certain amount of time, you only want to do a couple exercises, yes, I would suggest doing larger muscle groups. I mean, listen, when I work out, I'm only considering it a larger muscle group workout, even though I will I will always also hit smaller muscle groups later. This is also why the smaller muscle groups come last, because they require less total energy. And so once you're fatigued from working a large muscle group, I can still get some benefit to the smaller muscle group, even though it's already done some work in assisting the larger muscle group. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So yes, that would be my suggestion. If you go into the gym and you're like, I want to do 2 exercises, yes, I would say yes, focus on large muscle groups.
Love it. So well done, Dustin. And let us know how it goes. Here is a question from Tina.
Hi, Tina.
Tina says, hi, Ethan and Paige. I just started weight training and I was wondering if you had any insight on whether it is more beneficial to do your whole weight training session at once, or is it okay to segment it into 1 or 2 exercises every couple hours? I have a gym at work, so stretching out my session through the day is better for me, and I really don't want to be in the 5 a.m. club, but if I need to be, I will. And she puts a smiley face. She says, I wasn't sure if there was some sort of science that says this isn't the best way to work out. Thanks so much for your help.
Yeah, great question, Tina. In fact, I think it actually could be more productive to do it that way. I just think it's unrealistic for most people to have periods of access throughout the day to a gym where they can take 15, 20 minutes to go do a body part, or to, I don't know if you're, if you're doing, if I want to, how do I phrase this? If you're working on the legs, right? And you go and you have multiple exercises for the same muscle group of your legs, like hamstrings. I don't know if you want to break up the hamstring sessions, but certainly you could break up the hamstrings from the quads and the quads from the calves and all of that from the glutes and all of that from the hips. Certainly you could break those up, but I'm not sure. I believe the science says because you can reduce the fatigue to your nervous system, and so each muscle group, you're your total energy is recovered and you can actually put more into it when you go back a few hours later for the next session, right? I don't know if the benefit is the same where it's like, I'm going to do three different chest exercises. I'm going to do flat bench press. And then 3 hours later, I'm going to do incline dumbbell press. And then 3 hours later, I'm going to do flies. I don't know about that. If that one muscle group gets any benefit or detriment in that way. But I do believe that breaking up into sessions, muscle groups can be beneficial.
Nice. That's cool. I actually never even thought of that, of like breaking up your workout. Cause yeah, like a lot of people, I'm like, if I'm going to go, I'm going to get it done. But if there's a gym at work and stuff and you can do that, that sounds amazing.
Yeah. You'll see bodybuilders break up sessions all the time, an AM and a PM session.
Wow.
But I don't know that I've ever seen them space it for a single muscle group. That's why, if you're doing chest, do chest, and then come back and do triceps later and shoulders at another time. That's totally fine.
Got a question for you today from a friend named Micah.
Hi, Micah.
Micah says, hello, Ethan. My wife and I are both on a weight loss journey together. She went into maintenance after losing 50 pounds.
Nice.
Those 50 pounds took a long time for her to lose, as she has struggled with her weight all her life, but any weight loss is good in my opinion. She recently went back into a deficit, but has been struggling to lose more weight. She's been in a deficit for 3 months with no budging on the scale. She recently started to add more resistance training to her workout, and she loves her Peloton bike, and she rides that multiple times a week. Do you have any advice for her to get out of this plateau? Dropping calories doesn't seem like a good idea to me, as she's already about as low as she can go.
Yeah, it gets very tricky. So I would love to know how long she was maintaining her weight before she went into a deficit again. How deep of a deficit did she go into? And, how lean is she? How much weight is she trying to lose? There's a lot of factors there, but the other thing to that you have to take into consideration, because 50 pounds is quite a bit of weight. As you lose weight and you're all things equal, a 200-pound person requires X amount of calories to energize them, right? But if you diet down to 200 pounds, you'll actually require less. Your metabolism will be lower as a result of dieting. So diet fatigue could be real with her maintenance. Was she eating enough? I suppose she was, if she wasn't continuing to lose weight. How much salt does she have in her diet? Those are all the things I would look at. And then I know there's some stuff with women, which I try to get gals on here as much as possible to talk about it, because there's a whole host of female hormonal things that can disrupt weight loss that I just don't understand at all. And we try to have people on here to talk about that. But if she's not actually losing weight, yeah, the solution is to make the deficit even deeper. Not crazy, but to try chopping off another 150 calories a day and see what happens. That's what I would suggest. I'm sorry, that sucks. But yeah, that's kind of how it goes.
How about one from Tim?
Hi, Tim.
Tim says, hi, Ethan. I'm curious. Why non-fat Greek yogurt versus low-fat Greek yogurt? Are there differences in the way the two types of yogurt are made, or is it just to save the couple grams of fat from your macros? Thanks for your time and response.
Yeah, just to save those grams of fat. I like meat, and even the leanest meat has fat in it. And so fat is something that is required. You can't just excise fat entirely from your diet. But that's great, because it's very difficult to do that, because unless you're vegan, lots of stuff has fat in it. And even if you're vegan, olives have fat, avocado has fat. So lots of stuff has fat in it. But you know, the protein, you get more protein and no fat in a fat-free and a 0% Greek yogurt than you do in a 2% or a 5% fat. I'm well aware and would agree the 2% and the 5% are a hell of a lot creamier and more delicious. And like also you can eat that. You can eat 2% and 5%. Just like if you're tracking your total energy intake, just account for it. And it's totally fine. It's not going to fuck you up.
Yeah.
I tend to like enjoy the volume that I get to consume when it's 0% and the protein. I hit my protein. My protein target is really the most important thing for me. Like I want to be getting enough protein, and you just get a little bit more with 0% Greek yogurt. That's how I do my scheme. But listen, dude, if you take a bite of 0% and want to hurl, and you take a bite of 2% or 5% and think this is magically delicious, then fucking eat that.
Yeah. Do you ever do cottage cheese and yogurt mixed together?
That's gross. You're gross.
No, it's not.
You're so gross.
Okay, I grew up on this. My grandmother would do it, but granted, it was like a fruit yogurt.
I
So
remember
do that
seeing my
sometimes.
mom eat a melon that had cottage cheese dumped in the middle, and I would go yuck, because cottage cheese for me is a savory food. Cottage cheese requires salt and pepper. I don't understand cottage cheese as a sweet thing.
Dude, put it in some fruity yogurt. I'm telling
Yuck,
you.
gross, horrible.
Maybe
But my
Tim
kids
do
would probably like that.
it. Here's a question from Susie.
Hi, Susie. Susie's a chick, I bet.
I think so. Susie says, "Hey, Ethan, any new recipes or fun things you're doing on your food plan that you can share? I feel a bit bored with mine."
Oh man, I'm so bored with mine too. I'm doing nothing fun at all, Susie. I've gotten really into Brussels sprouts. I don't know if I ever cooked Brussels sprouts, but the way I cook them, it takes a long time. I take like a pan. I think I'm using a stainless steel pan, and I give it a very light spritz with like aerosolized olive oil. And then I take halved. That sounds so weird.
Excellent.
What?
It's really like, that was just a really good word. Halved. Like Brussels sprouts you cut in half.
Is it halved or halved? Halved.
I think the L is silent.
The L is silent. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck did I say halved?
Yeah, because you say I cut something in half. You don't say I cut something in half.
Right. Fucking dumb English language. So I take halved, fuck you, Paige, halved Brussels sprouts, and I put them cut side down on the pan and on very tremendously low heat, not where it says low, maybe one notch above that. I let them cook for a long time, and they turn golden brown. And when the bottom side gets nice and caramelized, I flip them. And it takes like 45 minutes. And my granddaughter absolutely loves these. So I've been making a lot of Brussels sprouts. That doesn't seem so exciting, but it's pretty exciting for me. Nothing else is super exciting. Like I just eat ground meat and a vegetable and a carb, which is almost always rice that's been microwaved in a bag, because I don't make good rice from scratch. It always turns into like oatmeal, but much thicker than oatmeal. It's a disaster. I don't know. I've been playing around a lot with za'atar. Do you know this spice?
What is that?
Za'atar? I don't know, but it's damn good. Z-A, I believe it's Z-A''T-A-R. Okay. And you can put it on just about anything savory, and it's delicious. Geez.
Well,
I
those are
wish
some good
I
tips.
guess so. Yeah, make Brussels sprouts and use za'atar. You can do
Look,
like za'atar with a little lemon in Greek yogurt, and it's a fantastic sauce.
okay. I mean, these are two very valuable little tips. Thank you for that. And I was going to ask you how long you do the Brussels sprouts and stuff. Do they get like soft, or do you use a seasoning on them? It's just a little bit of olive oil.
I season them only with salt. Listen, the way I want to eat them is with giant slabs of bacon, practically deep fried in bacon fat, and then something sweet, like a little drizzle of honey or something like
Mm,
that.
mm.
So it's an attempt at that without all the fun stuff. It's a long time. I'm telling you, like 40 minutes, I'm cooking these Brussels sprouts really, really low and slow until, but the problem is, I don't want them to turn mushy. Um, and if you overcrowd the pan, they will turn mushy. I want them to get crispy, but I'm not deep frying them. So there's like complications there. You got to let them cook all the way through. You don't want to burn them. You don't want to undercook them. So that's, takes a while.
I
I'm
get it.
sure there's probably some chef that could hear this and be like, "You're blowing it, kid. Broil them for 20 minutes or something." I don't know. Maybe that'll work too. But I cook them in a pan for a long time.
I like it. I'm going to try it. And thank you. Thanks for the tips, man.
Yeah, za'atar and a little yogurt and some kind of acid, a citrus in there.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
like it.
kick it right up a notch or three.
Here's a question for you today from Micah.
Hi, Micah.
He says, over the last year and a half, I've gone from 331 to 248 pounds.
That's amazing.
Yeah. He says, I'm actually okay with the weight I'm at. I'm okay with how I look in clothes. I can wear an extra large shirt now. I got an American Glutton shirt for my birthday.
Hell
He
yeah.
says, but I wanted your advice on how to maintain the weight I'm at while putting on some muscle.
Yeah, that's tricky. If you've never really done any resistance training before lifting weights, then you can probably put on a few pounds of muscle and even lose some weight, and it's not a huge effort. So like I would just maybe increase your protein intake slightly and start going to the gym and lifting weights. That's what I would do. Building muscle is hard. It's a lot of work. You gotta lift weights, and your body, it's very difficult to do in a caloric deficit. So if you're trying to maintain your weight, you can, but you got to get really, really specific with what you're eating. And that kind of maintenance I find to be a lot more challenging than just maintenance of my body weight. So I'm not going in the gym ever anymore looking to put on muscle, because I did that for a couple of years and it was just too much work. And the changes I saw in my body were ultimately not worth it. It was like, oh my God, I bent over backwards for the last year and I put on 4 pounds of muscle. And that's, for me, ultimately not worth it. Maintaining my weight is very much worth it. So that's not an issue. But if you really want to build muscle, you got to work out a lot and eat more protein. And after a while, if you haven't done this, after a while, you'll probably have to start to eat a little bit more in order to build muscle. And with eating more comes a little bit of fat. It doesn't have to be extreme, but you can look at any of the bodybuilders and see when they're really in a bulking phase that they're also adding fat. But those guys are experts in dieting, going, building muscle and fat and then just losing fat, and then building muscle and fat and then just losing fat. And it's so much work that I don't recommend it unless you're going to become a professional bodybuilder, because it takes a lot of time and effort. And ultimately, for me, it's just not worth it to put on 4 pounds of muscle a year. And I'm pretty muscular and a big guy, and I don't need any more muscle. It's not that appealing to me. But if you want more muscle, those are my recommendations.
I have a question from Bill about protein powder.
Hi, Bill.
He says, I don't usually love protein powder, but I get it down. I know it's important for weight loss. Problem is, I want to add lots of things. I want to add things to my shake to make it taste better. But with that comes calories. I feel like I'm supposed to have it or it's healthy, but maybe not. What do you say? Do I have to have protein powder?
Absolutely not. I don't know how important protein powder is to weight loss. I don't know that you need to have protein powder at all. Protein powder has been super useful for me, but the biggest way I consume protein powder is just with water. I completely agree that you can get super carried away and turn your dose of what's supposed to be a bolus of protein into a milkshake very quickly. Like my kids think the way I consume protein powder to be like repulsive. They would never do that. They have to have a blender. They're putting fruit in it and almond milk and occasionally peanut butter and stuff like that. And I have a shaker bottle. I put 8 ounces of water, a scoop of protein, and then I chug it down. I'm not trying to have an enjoyable experience with protein. It is literally just like I'm not going to get enough protein if I don't have it. But I think it would be preferable to get my protein from Whole Foods. Although whey protein is a great source of a super bioavailable protein, but like egg whites are valid, chicken breast is valid, fish is valid, tofu is valid, any of these things. If you want to sub them in and out, do that and don't take protein powder.
Yeah. And I'm the same as you. I like to put it in a shaker bottle, add water, shake it, drink it, and like just make it like because anytime I get into the blender, it's like, well, I guess I'm going to add something, a banana and a thing. And I find myself just adding stuff I don't really need. And then all of a sudden it's gone from just a piece of my nutrition for the day to like a party, so I totally get that. And, not so shameless plug for American Glutton protein powder, but I love that chocolate one. I literally just stick it in the thing, the shaker bottle, and it's just like, it's actually so good. You know what I mean?
I like our protein powder. We have vanilla and chocolate. Ours, I think, are great. I love Rise Skippy flavored protein powder because it tastes like peanut butter. Those are my two favorites, but then I think Rise even makes like a cinnamon toast crunch protein powder, which I think is delicious. So like if you're not opposed to all the chemicals that they can put into something to make it taste like peanut butter and have no calories, have that, or or you go get the grass-fed whey protein powder. Mark Bell makes a protein powder literally out of beef and like beef hearts and livers and stuff. And I don't even think it's sweetened. Like that to me, I don't want to drink that. That sounds gross, but people love it. And it's great if you're super into being carnivore or something like that, then that's the protein powder for you. There's lots of options. If it's a chore and it's repulsive to you, don't do it. Eat a Greek yogurt. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Eat some egg whites, eat a chicken breast, eat some tofu. You do not have to have protein powder. Nice. I give you permission, Bill, to not have protein powder.
Here's a question for you from Julie.
Hi, Julie.
Julie says, love the podcast and YouTube videos. Appreciate all you are doing to help educate. How do you keep training when you have an injury? Example, a knee injury.
Yeah, knee injuries really suck. I try to find something I can do that doesn't mess up the knee. So if the knee injury is inhibiting walking, I won't walk. If it's inhibiting an elliptical machine, I won't do that, but try to find something that the knee injury isn't bothered by, like a bike, or if that's not even good, a recumbent bike. And if your legs are utterly out of commission, can you just do something with one leg? And then if not, then just do upper body. but I think you have to get creative when you have injuries. I've had shoulder issues, and then it's like limiting to what I can do with that arm. And so that's just really taken into consideration with everything I do until that nagging shoulder problem is fully recovered. And I've had knee injuries too. And to be honest with you, the last time I had a real knee injury, I just fucking quit and didn't exercise for a long time. And that was stupid, but that was many years ago. I think that was 2012 or 13. And so now when I haven't had a proper injury, like a real tear. I ruptured my distal bicep tendon on my right arm in 2016. But I was still lifting weights. I just wasn't able to use my right arm for a long time. And so now my right bicep is way smaller than my left one, which is depressing, but that's my lot in life.
So it can be done. You just work around the
Yeah.
part you can't use. Like, yeah. Awesome. Well, Julie, hope you do well with that. And thanks for your answer, Ethan. Thanks to everybody who sends in their questions. You know where to send them. hello@americanglutton.net.